Part 1. The Letters. In a quiet little town nestled in the north of Italy lived an elderly woman named Emma. Her small cottage echoed with memories and silence. 20 years prior, her husband, David, an American soldier, was on his way home to surprise her for their anniversary. Tragedy struck when he lost his life in a terrible road accident. That fateful day irrevocably altered the course of Emma's life. After David's passing, Emma found herself unable to move forward. Every night, she would sit by the window at an old wooden desk, light a solitary candle, and pen a letter to David. She wrote about her day, the blossoms in her garden, the people she encountered, each letter invariably concluding with the poignant words, "Please come back soon. I'm waiting." Always. These letters were never intended for delivery. Instead, Emma carefully stored each one in an old shoebox beneath her bed. Hundreds of letters accumulated over the years, each one a testament to her enduring love. The villagers whispered amongst themselves, some believing Emma had lost her senses. But Emma held steadfast in her belief that, somewhere, David was listening. This conviction was her last vestige of hope, her reason to carry on. One snowy evening, a young man named Ethan from Canada stood at her door. He was a travel blogger, dedicated to uncovering lost love stories across Europe. He had heard of Emma, the woman who continued to write to her deceased husband. Emma was initially hesitant, but something in Ethan's eyes resonated with her, a gentle familiarity that reminded her of David. She welcomed him into her home. Over a warm cup of tea, she shared her story with Ethan, recounting her love for David, the devastating accident, the unending wait, and the countless letters she had written. Ethan listened with rapt attention. Before departing, he asked her a heartfelt question. "May I share your story with the world, so that everyone may know what true love really is?" Emma offered a faint smile. "Only if you promise to return." Ethan nodded solemnly and left. Part 2. The World Listens. Weeks later, Ethan published Emma's story on his blog, titling it, "The Widow Who Never Let Go." The story resonated deeply, spreading like wildfire across the internet. Millions of people from the USA, UK, Canada, and France were touched by Emma's unwavering devotion. Television channels and newspapers picked up the story, sharing it with a global audience. Soon, letters, flowers, and heartfelt messages of support began to arrive at Emma's small cottage from every corner of the world. But the most unbelievable chapter of Emma's story was yet to unfold. From Boston, America, an elderly soldier named Henry reached out. He made an astonishing claim. David didn't die in that accident. He survived. He simply lost his memory. Henry sent an old photograph. It was David, visibly older, but his eyes and the contours of his face were unmistakably the same. Emma's hands trembled as she held the picture. With the assistance of Ethan and the local police, they embarked on a search for David. They discovered him living in a care home in Ohio, USA. He was now known as Mark and had resided there for many years, with no recollection of his past life. Emma, now nearly 70 years old, boarded a plane to Ohio. Part 3. The Reunion. When she entered the care home, David looked at her with vacant eyes, showing no sign of recognition. A wave of despair washed over Emma, but she gathered her courage and, with a trembling voice, spoke the words that had filled her letters for 2 decades. "You promised you would come back." Tears welled up in David's eyes. Slowly, he reached into the pocket of his worn sweater and pulled out a piece of paper. It was old, creased, yellowed with age, a letter. On it were the familiar words, "Please come back soon. I'm waiting." Always. It was Emma's last letter. David had forgotten everything, yet his hand had instinctively held on to this one tangible piece of their shared past. His heart, though shrouded in amnesia, still remembered the echo of her love. End of Part 1. Would you like Part 2, where David gradually starts to regain his memories and the world reacts to their reunion? If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, Part 2 please, and don't forget to subscribe for more true stories.